So just a short notice, we only have 3 guests, so I don't think we'll have a 1.5 hour discussion, so we'll probably close in around 1 hour, and that will be also with questions from the public. So think already about your questions, because during the first part we have a very shy audience, so we hope to change this time. So we'll start with George. George, you hang around a lot of American and British elites, financial and political ones. So I was wondering, from their perspective, can you tell us about the investment outlook of the region? What kind of opportunities they see in the region, and also challenges they perceive in the region that could probably prohibit them from investing further in the region.
Thank you very much for inviting me and having a great pleasure in contributing to this report. I think it's enormously important to speak about the 3 Cs initiative between us, among the 12 countries, but also to the outsiders, to the investors. I think especially the latter is certainly missing. The opportunities are there, they're great. Most of us who come from the 3 Cs initiative countries know of the opportunities. They know that we have great skilled, multilingual workforce. We have incredible talent in IT, in numerous sectors. And but a lot of people in the UK or in the US, that was the part of the report that I contributed to, co-authored this part, they have no clue about the opportunities. What I really liked in the previous panel that was mentioned by Stefan Thompson, by some of the other panelists, is that this project, 3 Cs initiative, is probably the most ambitious geopolitical project of our region, of our lifetime. But we're not speaking enough about it. So the opportunities are there, but we're not so good in the PR and the ways to promote them. So this is mixed to the challenges that you asked me about. So when I walked around, I wanted to do a little survey. It was a mini survey of British parliamentarians. What do they know about the 3 Cs initiative, whether they've even heard about it? So I've asked 30 people and 30 MPs, and only 4 of them even knew what the 3 Cs initiative was. That's less than 10%. And it's a serious trouble. I think some of the challenges, you know, we could talk about bureaucracy, we can talk about various issues with investments in our region and different languages and etc. But I think a lot lies with us. A lot of the challenges, they just simply lie with us. So in the previous panel, we've heard of people who know a lot about France, who learn a lot about Spain, but they don't learn about Croatia. They don't learn about the Czech Republic. They simply don't know. But these countries are so close by, so we can do much more to get to know each other that will improve the cooperation of the 3 Cs initiative. But also, with the PR, it's us. We have not presented fantastic English language videos, reports. Well, this one is hopefully one that will contribute, but we haven't done enough to do that. So at the moment, we've prepared a previous report that was sent out to parliamentarians in the UK as well. And I think we had about 20 replies from various MPs saying, we know businesses, we have businesses that would want to invest in the 3 Cs initiative, but we just don't know who to speak to. There is no secretariat. Yes, we can go to one embassy or the other, or some trade agency. Some of them do a really good work. But at the moment, it should be simplified. So that's my maybe beginning introduction to the topic. Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe now the Asian perspective, especially the Chinese perspective. So a question for Radek. Relationship between the region and China has recently been, let's say, strained, meaning that they are not as good as they used to be. There is not that much enthusiasm about it. As they used to, 3 countries from the region actually left the 17+1 format. So I'm I'm actually curious if you could tell us if China is actually even still interested in the region, and if it's willing to invest, maybe loan some money for infrastructure. Do you think there is still enthusiasm in the region to accept this kind of investment, or is it just too late and it's just impossible to replace?
Okay, once again, thank you very much, Yolita, for this question, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure and honor to be one of the speakers today, and also being a co-author of this report, to contribute to this report. If we talk about the Chinese perspective, the answer is always very simple, because China is mostly focused on itself, right? So it's less concern about the outside world. I'm very happy to talk about something else than COVID-0 and the COVID-0 strategy. However, I have to mention about the situation in China, because everyone is concerned about the protests. So this is, I would say, like #1 topic in China right now. And China has been and always will be more concerned about itself than it is about the outside world. I think that is something that is not changing, especially about the region, because if we talk about the Chinese perspective of the region, we have to say the perspective is different. The way they define the Free Seas and Free Seas initiative is different, because China and the Central Eastern European countries, including Poland, established a different platform of cooperation in 2012. It's actually a dispute between the Hungary and other countries of the region, because the Hungarian government claims that actually it was established a year before, because there was first economic forum between the Central Eastern European Central Eastern European countries and China, held in Budapest. But anyway, it's a little bit different than the Free Seas initiative, because we have different countries in this platform of cooperation: 16+1, which turned out to be 17+1, and right now I think it's maybe 15+1. We're looking for a different name for it, because at least 2 Baltic states withdrew from the initiative. Lithuania was the first, and I think Estonia followed Lithuania a couple of months later. I'm not sure about Latvia. Maris, so 3 Baltic states withdrew from the initiative. So, okay, if we we'll talk about the numbers, I think it's 14+1 right now. But anyway, the idea is different. So the platform worked for the last 10 years, and the results, let's say, maybe were not as impressive as everybody expected from it, because I think first of all, it's a problem of engaging. Your question was about the political will, whether we want to engage China, whether we want to attract the Chinese investment into the region, whether China and Chinese investors whether see the potential in the region. Well, I think the biggest challenge is how to engage China constructively. It's all about the constructive engagement, because, okay, Baltic states withdrew from the initiative, but if you look at other countries, I mean Hungary, Poland, or other countries of the region, they look for the formula of attracting Chinese investments, which could be constructive. But on the other hand, I cannot see a huge interest on the Chinese side, because we had the visit of Polish Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Maybe Mr. Marek Zyska would refer to this visit last year, and at the end of the discussion between the ministers of foreign affairs, there was a statement from Chinese side that we do not care about the geopolitical projects and about strategic geopolitical cooperation. It should be based on cooperation based on a mutual benefit. So on both sides. So that's still an issue how we define this mutual benefit. I think last week we had, at least in Poland, we had the other project from Chinese side, infrastructure project from Chinese side, the company Stackpole. won a bid on express 27 kilometers of expressways in the North Poland, right? So is this the mutual benefit, or how we define it? I think after 10 years we're still looking for the definitions, like what we define as a mutual benefit. And there are different attitudes among the Central Eastern European countries. I think there's the different attitude of Croatia, probably because we have this bridge, which is a huge project linking Dubrovnik with other parts of the countries. We have Hungary, which is, I think, very much interested in attracting Chinese investments. They even want to build a Central Eastern European university in Budapest, and they want even to pay themselves for it. So it's not that China will invest in this project. I think Hungary itself will pay for it. So this is something which, at least in Poland, I think we don't find an attractive way of cooperation. We certainly have other countries, and we have Baltic states which actually have already withdrew from the initiative. Okay, so I think China is more concerned about itself. That's number one. Second, its perspective is different. The definition and also the countries they include into the region, comparing 14+1 with the Free Seas Initiative. And the third, I think that everything is uncertain now. Whatever is certain is uncertainty, I would say, in China and in other parts of the world, because we live in the era of geopolitical tensions. So I think the Chinese engagement, whether it's going to be a constructive or whether we will work out the common definitions, what is constructive and based on mutual benefit engagement. I think it depends on the battlefields of Ukraine and the relations with other superpowers, and it will be the consequence of it. I mean, the Chinese strategy in the region. China is very reluctant actually to get engaged even in cooperation with Russia right now. I think they adopt the strategy of sitting on the hill and watching the fighting tigers. That's what's China doing now. Even though they see the region as a gateway to Europe, even though they see potential, if you talk to the people from the infrastructure and the finance, you don't need a PR. It's not as important, I would say, as in the UK. That's what I learned from your speech, George. That this is very important in the UK, but I think in China they know what are the advantages of this part of the world, but the problem is whether they would like to be engaged and how to engage them constructively. I think we are ahead of many disputes on this issue, and I think we may continue this discussion later on. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've been talking about attracting investors and finding what's interesting for them in the region, but there are three main areas of free seas cooperation. That's energy, transport, and digital. But those are very, very broad areas, and I think it will be very interesting for investors to know what are the priorities of individual countries. So, for example, from Polish perspective, what would be the priorities for the next couple of years? Which parts of that infrastructure do you think, Marek, should be built, or for example, the ministry thinks should be built first and should have the bigger focus? And what would be the role of the ministry in making it happen?
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for organizing this event. I think it's of paramount importance. First of all, allow me to express my words of appreciation to the Institute of New Europe for organizing this event, because I believe that there's still lack of understanding what the 3SI initiative is about. So events like that are really important to get into. As Minister Jabłoński repeatedly saying, hearts and minds of people which is a step to understand the need of cooperation on the second step. But returning to your question, very important question. I think the three areas are of paramount importance as well, and we will need to develop transportation, energy sector, and the digital sector, because as you heard probably recently during the State of the Union speech, when Ursula von der Leyen underlined that we should have had the voices inside the European Union, from the Baltics, from Poland, when they have invested so much in the energy sector, that today we are much better prepared to this situation which occurred, and the threat from the Russian side. So basically, I think that we will keep and stick with those three priorities areas. However, we also know that we need to focus on some other issues, just to enhance cooperation within the region, because generally speaking, no one could discuss with the need to establish new roads, new railway lines, new energy interconnectors, maybe before the war, but now I think that we are all on the same page. So basically, we're gonna stick to those huge projects, and without doubt, that's the most important in the 3SI cooperation. But we need to also find a solution how to cooperate between the countries of our region. And in our department, we're thinking, together we've got 112 million people, and we are quite big region if in comparison with other countries of the European Union, but still on the global market we are quite small and quite divided. So our aim in our department is to find some smart ideas where to cooperate. And we figured out that, if we want to compete on the global market, we need to find a few new technologies that we might jump into the train, which is rather ongoing right now, and try to compete on the newest technologies. If I've prepared for today the statistics, but I don't know where they are. Actually, generally speaking, we are lagging behind the European Union in the question of innovativeness. I think if we look at the global innovativeness index, the first country from our region is Estonia. It's ranked 16th. Then Czech Republic 30, and Poland more or less it's ranked 40th. So we just need to improve our innovativeness in order to compete on the global market. And we decided to choose a few areas: hydrogen. Digitalization. In digitalization, we choose cybersecurity and 5G networks in the Open RAN model, and drone economy. And what we're trying to do, it's a kind of a bottom-up approach in our department. Just search for our unicorns, our startups, and then match them with the possible partners from the region, just in order to create some new solutions and go abroad, go together abroad, look for financing, and compete with the tech giants. No, because I think, as you, George, said before, that we have really intelligent people. And I've got friends from that were working as programmers in the fields. They're earning quite well, but they don't want to change only to earn more in their works. They want to change work in order to join some interesting projects. So we need to have those interesting projects inside the 3Cs initiative in order to be attractive for the outside and for the inside, for our people also. Thank you.
Thank you. So back to George. So you've been talking a lot about opportunities and challenges. So what do you think should be done? Like, what would be the proper response, some activities, actions we should take as a region to make these challenges go away, to actually listen to what's worrying the American and British investors, and how we can counteract?
Yes, it's both easy and difficult. So I think what's easy is to map out the problems and then how to approach them and tackle them. I think the first issue is branding, perhaps, where I really liked the exercise in the previous panel where every speaker had 30 seconds to say what the 3Cs initiative is and why is it great. And the answers were very good, but I could see, you know, people were maybe not ready for that. I think this is something that we need to learn first and foremost. We need to be able, when meeting an investor, when meeting somebody from another country, we need to be able to very quickly, smartly present the concept. Very often we go into the history and we use words like we're lagging behind, we were post-communist countries, we're catching up. And these are all true statements, but we should have a lot of positivity and innovation, as was said by Mr. Zyska. So immediately we should have sectors or even companies that are searching for their partners, and we could help matchmake these. People are looking for ideas to just move straight away. And instead of focusing on the region being, oh, most of us were behind the Iron Curtain, that's why we need to catch up. Instead of saying this mantra that puts us into a box, that we're already in that box, because a lot of Western world has put everybody, oh, they're behind the Iron Curtain, they're the post-communist country. Instead of that, we should be looking at the positive statements. I think it was the president of Latvia that said, first and foremost, we must say that we are the most developing countries in Europe. We have the highest growth. People don't know about this. If you speak to a German colleague, a British colleague, they just don't look at the statistics. They look at themselves as the strongest economies, but they don't see this tremendous growth that we have. So branding is first. PR, maybe in China it's different, I don't know, I don't focus on that sector, but when it comes to the UK and the US, it's paramount, it's so important. We just think that we will approach the CEOs of big hedge funds and the prime ministers of these countries and we'll just say, look what a wonderful project, bring us the money and the businesses. It doesn't work like that. It has to be a whole campaign. All the newspapers at one time, they have to write about it, they have to be curious. When I spoke to some journalists, they said, we've never heard about the 3Cs initiative. We would love to write about it. But what can we write about? They just don't know. But we know this is a juicy topic. There's just so much going on. Okay, some of the countries in the 3Cs initiative are a little bit, you know, slower when it comes to getting involved in the project, but that's okay. You know, we can't expect everybody to just jump on the wagon. If the project will be successful, if there will be a lot of investments and the media will be writing about it, then some of our friends, like our Czech friends today, will say, actually, this project is fantastic for our region. We want to be more involved. We'll speak to our politicians. So it's like a machine. And yes, of course, another question that actually the former Czech ambassador to London told me, why should I promote the 3Cs initiative if I can just promote Czechia? Or I can bring the investors straight to my country. Why should I promote other countries? But if you're in a pack, if you're walking around like a pack, and then sometimes the IT sector will invest in these countries, certain other sector will invest others, it is mutually beneficial for the pack. So we need to understand that more. One of the examples that I write about in the report is the Latin American Chamber of Commerce. I mean, the Latin American countries are so different. They have different goals, different economies completely. But they were able to create a very successful Chamber of Commerce that has 23 regional offices. There are, I think, over 20,000 member companies that are part of it. They're really an important part of the economy. And we know the private sector sometimes complains about embassies and chambers of commerce, but they do help. They will not fix everything for us, but they do help. So I think the key issue here is that a secretariat is needed. A Free Seas initiative cannot function without some sort of a secretariat. At the beginning, it may be very small. It may just have very limited scope of action because different countries have slightly different goals. But if we focus on a few, business projects, a few cultural projects, and see how successful it is, I think everybody will notice that this secretariat is beneficial. And as I said before, at the moment, the politicians, the businesses, they just don't know who to speak to. They hear about Free Seas Initiative, they Google, there's a few good websites, but who do they write to? What does the Free Seas stand for? What are the crucial aims? So we have the aims listed, and it's interconnectivity, energy, infrastructure. We have them out there, but it needs to be simplified. And there should be a Free Seas conference happening all around Europe, where together we promote ourselves. I think it's and sometimes the message will be slightly different, because I would guess that for some countries the fact that we are all in the EU is fantastic. So they can offshore or nearshore their businesses and just sort of move. I think in the top offshoring or nearshoring, as it's called, countries in Europe, the Free Seas countries, the 4 of them are in the top 10. Poland is first, and I think there's Romania, Czech Republic. They're in the top. So we should be speaking about it and promoting it. I think we're not doing. We're not doing enough. So the EU is a great opportunity, but also some countries are a little bit skeptical of the EU. For example, when I speak to a lot of my British colleagues, they say, why should we invest so heavily in Central and Eastern Europe if you are just federalizing yourself? You will have less and less of your own say in the future. Military industry, lots of industries are losing out on this because people are just worried. So we need to we need to tackle this issue that some of these investors may have, and we need to speak to them frankly. What are the issues, and how do we challenge them? That the Three Seas presents opportunities rather than challenges. And I think if we start with these few steps, then everything will be so much easier. Again, in the previous panel, it was mentioned that Free Seas influencers. It's just so easy to do. You do a campaign. I had 2 biggest PR and public affairs companies approach me in London saying, we love this Free Seas initiative. Could we do your PR? Could we write 100 articles in all the newspapers and get you in front of everybody and have TikTok influencers do something? And I just said, look, sounds great, but I don't know who to speak to about this. So I think that's one of the issues and challenges ahead. But I think we need to be very optimistic, because a lot of good can come out of this project.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very passionate, and I hope it come true. So staying in this PR area, so Radek, one of the reasons I think that Chinese investment is not very well appreciated in the region is well, frankly speaking, bad PR. Many of the investments, I think you already mentioned also the Chinese university, but there are others. Famous example of Polish highways, highway construction. And so what is the reason for that bad PR, and what can be done both on the Chinese side and also on the side of the governments of the countries that would like to attract some Chinese infrastructural investment? Because personally, I think there's not enough done in that sense.
Thank you very much for a very good question. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be as passionate as George was, but this time I think I may say that it looks very much the same from Asian perspective and also from the perspective of China. Even though I would say that PR from the perspective of China and PR is not important at all. If you look at Chinese investments in Africa and other regions of the world, they have really bad PR all over the world. So PR is not that important, and I think it's a pity because if we talk about the Chinese perspective and attractive Chinese investments in Poland, we are very good at PR in Poland because we created very attractive narratives, like especially Belt and Road Initiative and the Silk Road to Zero, that we are the Central European hub for it. Even though it turned out that the main hubs were established in Germany, I think in Duisburg and Hamburg. So Germany benefited a lot from it, but we had very attractive narrative about it. So there was not a problem of attractive narrative in this case, but I think it's more like it's a huge intellectual challenge, I would say. Fortunately, I don't have to deal with this issue. I'm just a YouTube video blogger right now, and I don't have to deal with it because if I would have to, it's a huge challenge. I think it's a huge challenge. How to not? I mean, the PR, the attractive narrative. It's not. It's not such a challenge as attracting the constructive. Attracting constructively Chinese investments into the region. The problem is that Chinese call it pragmatic cooperation based on mutual benefit, and it's very hard to define it. We don't know actually what it really means. That's the first challenge. The second is, I think George mentioned about this, is the, well, I mean, coordination. I mean, who you should have, who you should talk to. There are many centers of powers in many Central Eastern European countries. So the president is saying this, the prime minister is saying something completely different. Then you have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You have different political parties, different political forces, and you have different visions of cooperating with China. And I think that the red lines should be established, like to what extent you want to what extent you want to how you want to attract the Chinese, what kind of Chinese investments you want to attract. I think this is very important issue. I think the Baltic states already made a decision, and I think that's fine, that's good, because they are very clear on this issue. We don't want to work with China. We withdrew from the initiative, and that's fine. I think on the other hand, you have Hungary. They have completely different strategy. They are very happy of every Chinese investment, even sometimes they have to pay for it. But I don't think this is the strategy we shall or we could adopt in other Central Eastern European countries. So this is the red line must be established. To what extent we are happy to where is this red line? So that's number one. And I think the coordination, it's not only within every and each of the Central Eastern European country, but also between the countries, because we love this idea of this initiative, but you know, I mean. Well, but the problem is that sometimes the efforts of the countries of the region are not coordinated at all. I mean, there's a different strategy of Hungary, there's a different strategy of Baltic states and other countries as well. So I think this coordination is also a huge challenge, because from the perspective and from the perspective of Chinese, I would say, industrial and financial circles, okay, the region is attractive and they would be very happy to build a bridge or a road or do something, but it's still not a strategic cooperation. It's a pragmatic cooperation based on mutual benefits. So sometimes they are happy to do this project, sometimes they are happy to do another project, but the problem I everything is on our side, that we have to define what projects we need, what kind of cooperation we need, and whether we are able to coordinate it within our countries and whether we are able to coordinate it with ourselves. So this is the problem. And from the perspective of China, they play the big power politics. So I think the Germany, Russia, United States, that's actually what matters to them. And if they see the region of I don't know, 12 or 14 or 16 or 17, it doesn't really matter how many countries, but they have the different strategies. They wouldn't care about it so much, at least from the strategical point of view. They would maintain this policy of pragmatic cooperation based on mutual benefit, which is still unclear, and I wouldn't say it's 100% defined. Okay, that's all for now. I think Mr. Marek Zyska would refer to some points.
Yeah. I was wondering if you could maybe relate to what was said in the last two in the questions I just asked. So, do you think there is this potential for promoting the region on the regional level, region as a whole? I mean, there's been suggestion to do that since Sofia summit in 2 years back, and I know there's some countries already called for that. So I was wondering if something has been done already, or are there plans to do it, or is it actually viable? Do you, from your perspective, because you talk to your counterparts in other countries, are countries actually willing to forego their own promotions and promote the region from time to time as well?
A great question. Thank you for that. I would like to only first address to one thing you said, that some institutions, your colleagues are referring to the EU as a place which is going to federalize, and this is kind of difficult for them to take the decision to invest, if I understand well your statement. From our perspective, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I want to stress that we are happy of the Polish membership in the European Union and in the NATO. I think that thanks to those memberships, we are much more stable region and better. We've got actually better PR for the outsiders. Maybe not from the Conservative Party in the UK, but for the most people, I think that it's kind of a sign that the region is it's developing fast and it's stable, because all countries are members of the European Union. They're operating in the single market. The rules are clear. And the federalization isn't set in stone, so there's a process, and I personally don't think that it will happen. But for outsiders, I think that the being in the European Union is our asset as such, not our problem. If you want to.
If I could just in one word, I agree. Certainly, and I said it, that it is an asset. Generally, foreign investors look at Europe as the EU that has less corruption, rules are clear, etc. But I just said those statements because I've heard them in the UK, and it's not just from the Conservative Party; it's from Labour as well. A few people that I spoke to said they had some concerns that in the future, for example, you know, if there will be some sort of another disease, and then if you have to quickly buy medicine, you will not buy it from the UK maybe, but you will buy your vaccines or your medicine from other European partners. I've seen that some people criticize Poland for being so involved with South Korea in terms of the military equipment. They say, why are you buying it from them if you can buy it from our European partners? So I know this is not happening. Maybe it will not happen in the future. There will be that independence of choice, etc. But this is just some of the comments that I've heard from the UK that we also, you know, just should consider. But I agree with what you said, of course.
Great, thank you. Thank you that we're on the same page on this topic. And the promotion, that's quite difficult topic, I think. And personally, I think that we still not at this level of cooperation within the 3Cs initiative. As George said, the first secretariat, and Poland is a proponent of this idea to have the secretariat, maybe to have the secretariat in Brussels, for example. As you mentioned, there will be place where people might call and get information about the opportunities of this region, how to invest in this region. But I'm not sure whether this is a chance to have some foreign office of the 3Cs where we will promote the 3Cs investment potential. On the general level, okay, I think some politicians are showing this potential, and are trying to somehow attract investors that we are a region and we are a stable region. But to have some kind of institution, first secretariat, then we can speak about different sub-secretariats to those things. Because I get a degree in economics, but the greatest lesson about economy you can learn actually from National Geographic movies, where you are aware that there is not enough resources on the planet. There will never be enough resources on the planet. And we will compete on the resources. We will compete to get the financial financing for our projects, and we will compete inside the region. You show the example of Latin America, which is really interesting. But on the other side, you've got Belgium, and they've got the office for foreign investments for Wallonia and for Flanders. So those are like one country and two different offices, because they compete to get the money for their projects, to sell their project. And the same will be, and it's fine, it's a free market, the same will be on the level of states in the 3Cs initiative. And the same will be in the companies, inside the countries, they will compete. Everyone competes to get the money to sell products. What we would like to do is to find few companies, few unicorns, and match them inside the region, create something, some added value, and some innovative solutions. And then, well, there will be our solutions. Maybe not, we will not be able to gather all 12 countries to each project in hydrogen, cybersecurity, drone, and 5G. But 2-3 countries, 2-3 entrepreneurs that might pull up their resources and create something new and something special. So that's our bottom-up approach. We don't want to say no to your idea of creating a new body, but I think it's still too early to introduce it. But I will read the report with great attention to have those ideas and to learn from it. So thank you once again.
Thank you. So maybe now time for some questions. Are there any questions from the public? Yeah. Sure.
Aleksey Borówka, the Institute of Europe. Dear sirs, I would like to ask a question concerning the fields of economy that might be, let's say, the aim of investments. And I would like to ask Mr. George Byczyński about fields of economy of 3Cs initiatives country, which would be, let's say, the aim of investments for both United Kingdom and the USA. And I would like to ask Mr. Radosław Pyffel, let's say that China agreed to invest in the Three Seas initiative. So which fields of economy would China invest? And after that, I would like to also ask Mr. Marek Zyska if maybe we should start those investments, as previous panelists will told us about, as let's say a joint venture. So start with investments from the outside and connecting them with some 3 or 4 countries of the initiative to develop.
Yes, thank you for this question. I do list, we do list in the report the key sectors. It should actually be relatively easy because a lot of the sectors that Poland is developing, that's what the UK wants to put money in, and the US. You look at renewables. There are fantastic projects in the UK with DIT, the clean growth. They have money, they have funding, and they're just looking for opportunities. And I know that various representatives of governments in our region are speaking to the UK about it. Wind farms, there is a lot of that. There is a lot of potential from Britain and from the US. It's everything that has to do with energy, nuclear energy. It's not just the US, but it's the UK as well. Of course, liquefied gas. It's a great potential because we want more diversity in our region. And Americans and others, they want to earn money, and that's how it works. And it can be a very mutually beneficial cooperation. You look at IT sectors. So I know that the Western countries, they really appreciate the experts from the Baltic countries, from Poland, Ukraine as well, and the region as a whole. They know that people are very well educated. They know IT very well, and I've heard numerous times where British companies wanted to set up something in Poland, or at least find the Polish brains or the Estonian brains. They just really sought after it, and they didn't know actually how to find the employees. They didn't know which system to use. Should they contact embassies, etc. So I think the metallurgy. There's a number of sectors that are out there that are just need a little bit help of matchmaking, of better understanding. I know that there are numerous discussions happening already, but I think it's an opportunity for the Three Seas countries and as individual countries to cooperate better with the UK and the US. And paradoxically, the Ukrainian conflict, I think, united most of the countries even more, and there is even more of an interest in the diversification of energy. So it's an opportunity that should be seized, and well, hopefully we will be able to help stabilize the situation and get Ukraine to get its independence back. But that's a separate topic. But in terms of the businesses and investments, the more American, the more British companies that will create those joint ventures that you said with various counterparts in Central and Eastern Europe, the better for our stability and for the peace of the region and for the opportunities.
Okay, just very briefly to respond to your question. Thank you very much for this question. I think the first is that the industries and the sectors that Chinese business may be interested. I think, okay, first of all, logistics. Because of the Belt and Road Initiative, I think it is said that the third summit of Belt and Road Initiative will be held next year in Beijing. Maybe they will loosen up a little bit this zero COVID restrictions. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, but logistics is number one. I think infrastructure is number two because China has got huge potential and they are very much interested in this kind of, I wouldn't say investments, because they are interested in actually in public tenders. So that's what they do in Poland and many other countries of the regions, that they win public tenders, they win bids and they build roads. But this is not what we expect, because we would like to attract them more constructively. And I think IT sector as well. We have a lot of creative young people in the region, so there are big tech, Chinese big tech companies, and they are also interested in the cooperation. So okay, mainly logistics, infrastructure, IT, energy as well. We have huge Chinese companies. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I think that they don't need any geopolitical constructs like Free Seas Initiative or anything like that to continue the cooperation with the companies of the region. They don't need that. They don't need the attractive narratives. They don't need PR. I'm sorry to say that, but they don't even need the secretariat for that, because the secretariat 17+1, I don't think it really works. And if there is a Chinese company, Chinese global company, it may come to, I don't know, Hungary, Croatia, or Poland, win a bid, or actually find a company they want to cooperate with, and they don't need geopolitical constructs. And that's actually what was said to Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs last year, that it should be a pragmatic cooperation based on mutual benefit. And it's pragmatic, it's not the geopolitical one. It doesn't need any political agenda behind this. We like this company. We want to do this project, or we want to build this highway. We want to build this bridge. Okay, we don't need a political agenda behind it. And I think maybe it's okay, because if there's a geopolitical agenda behind it, I think it would make this kind of projects impossible, at least in Poland. I don't know how about other countries, because there is no red line. If you look at Germany, for example, there's there was a deal announced like a couple of weeks ago of one of the logistics terminals in Hamburg, which is so important strategically. It's so significant, and I think there is a red line and there is a consensus among the German elites how far they want to go. They agreed to sell 24.9% of this terminal, the stake in this terminal, to Chinese company, even though they started from 35. But it seems there is a consensus among the German elites, and I don't think we have this consensus among the elites in Poland and other countries, and between the countries, how far we want to go. I think the Germany perfectly and exactly knows what they want to do and what they want to achieve, and how they want to play out this issue geopolitically. We do a lot of business with South Korea. I think George mentioned about it. Just because we have this geopolitical dilemma with cooperating with South Korea in military defense sector, aviation sector, and many others, right? So okay. So that's how I tried very briefly to at least to respond to your question.
Thank you. And responding to the question about investments, I think we will accept any investments unless it's unsafe, actually. Because I know some investments which were, which our partner, Germany did in past years, and they were not safe. Nord Stream.
What is unsafe?
If you look from the perspective of from today, was the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream the 2 safe investments? It wasn't from our perspective, and it figured out that it wasn't safe from the perspective of Germany itself. So I would be very careful with those German-Chinese cooperation. They've got, of course, their own reason to do that, but it's difficult to.
And Central Eastern Europe is Central Eastern Europe. So they're completely different cases. I don't mean that we should imitate the German.
Definitely, I understand that.
They decide for themselves, and they establish maybe different criteria for safety So body safety.
But honestly speaking, with those sectors, hydrogen, energy sector, transportation, that's fine, and we will cooperate with our allies, with the UK, with the US, with Japan, and well, we should look at certain investments and assess them, I think.
Okay, so South Korea is acceptable. So what about China? Where is this red line? You're the guy from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so maybe you may tell a little bit more about it.
I don't know where is the red line. I know that we should assess those projects one by one, and then decide whether Nord Stream is okay for us, or kind of Nord Stream, or buying a port in Poland might be good or bad idea. I think that's the question of
35% on 24.9. So where is the red line?
Sometimes when you've got 10%, you can have a decisive voice. So you could keep it in your mind. That's really interesting discussion, and but I'm not really into China. I don't work with this portfolio. So basically, what I'd like to say, it's we will accept investments, but they need to be safe, and whether they are safe for our country or not, that should be assessed with huge project, of course, right? Thank you.
All right. Another question? There's.
Hello, everyone. My name is Peter, and I want to ask about optimalization processes, because IT infrastructure is really important, and we got a lot of great programmists from Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, and etc. And it is really important and crucial to get safe and fast information processes, because this helps us to save time. But I think that some of energy have been used in order to produce Tinder or Grindr or stuff like that than, for example, software for mining drones to create lower risk for miners and higher revenue for companies. And I think that as we take a look at the map, we get a lot of square kilometers, and there we got a lot of resources. And maybe we should use technology and use our technology universities to put more pressure into creating software into mining drones than creating software for dating apps. I'm not saying that dating isn't important. It is really important, and we got a lot of beautiful women and beautiful boys, handsome. So I understand it's really important for psychology, and I know, but I think that we got demographic problem, and we got Ukraine, which has a lot of food, and we get a lot of food, but we don't have concrete and steel to build houses for people. And some of the people are constantly in work, and some of the people are not. This is my point of view. Maybe it is a bit different, and as we speak about logistics, maybe we should think about maglev trains, because when we use truckers, they don't have time to spend with the family, and this is also an issue why people have less kids, because they don't have time to spend time with them, and maybe this is the problem.
Yeah. What would be your question?
How we can cut the corners to optimize the processes in order to have higher revenue?
$1 billion question.
Yeah, I guess it's more a question for a Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I personally think that maybe those apps might help with demographic. So that's... well, I don't have experience in that field, but we can develop that later on. No, honestly speaking, that's really difficult question to answer. I would agree that I know what to do. What I'm doing is that I'm raising my child, and I'm not showing him like stupid movies, but we are binge watching National Geographic movies, and that's why this. Try to focus on your families and raise your children in your. That they buy your perspective and they follow your perspective. I think that's a key issue. It's not a problem that we can solve on the state level. As I said, the resources are scarce, and there will always be Grinders, Tinders, and other apps that will take money from people, and maybe there will be less money for those drones that are saving lives. I can't agree, like as a human being, but I can't say you that yeah we will ban those apps It's not this way.
It's great, but we spend a lot of energy on.
And we spent a lot of time like watching cats on YouTube's.
Actually, what you're saying, I think it's what actually China was trying to do, and I think it's still trying to do. The government, Chinese government, Radek, maybe you can elaborate a little bit. They've been complaining that they are doing TikToks instead of some other. Maybe more useful apps, but I think the problem is not that we are doing this and not doing that. It's just because TikTok or Instagram or Tinder, they're just more popular and they will always be more promoted than, let's say, drones. So I don't think it's that we have to choose one or the other. And I think, George, you also wanted to comment?
Yes, I just wanted to say in a few words, because I think I understood what you tried to explain at the beginning between, these scientists or young people that could be used for various different programs. And, we're not going to solve this now because people create apps that earn revenue, and that's just how it works. But what could be improved, certainly, in terms of experts working on mining drones is the universities and sometimes various ministries could put more impact into training people exactly in those fields. And I see, for example, in the UK or in the US, there is much more connection between the universities and business. I don't know the case in Poland, but I think it's not as much. Where in the UK, you have big companies, they just approach universities, they say, bring us the best computer science people, can they work on this app that could do a mining drone or whatever else? And it really works out very well, I think, because the students are not just learning theory, but they're also learning very useful skills that could be useful to the businesses, etc. So, and to solve that, there needs to be more cooperation between our universities, maybe in here and some other countries. I can't speak for all, but and the sort of Anglosphere universities where the work with business is very close. And then you touched upon the pro-family issues. That's a huge topic that we cannot just touch upon here now. But I know that a few countries of the 3Cs initiative have a lot of pro-family policies. I know Poland has some. I think Hungary is probably the leader in that. I asked a friend from the Hungarian government to just explain the scale of their pro-family policies, and they were incredible. absolutely incredible. You know, depending on the amount of children you get, your taxes are lower. If you know, you get if a lady gets pregnant after a university, she immediately has certain systems to help her out, that she doesn't need to, you know, work in Tesco's and then have a child, and it's very confusing and difficult for the family. But the government really steps in. So I think there are various ways that this could be stimulated, and we should be learning from the leaders of that in the region.
Okay. Yes, I guess we can finish now. Thank you again to our guests for participation. And I think there will be still some time for short discussions after that by the coffee. Yes. Thank you.